Dangerous, powerful, even deadly. The fury and force of nature, a constant risk for our coastal communities in the middle of the danger zone. This is a News Channel 5 special, Surviving the Storm 2011, with your host, Chief Meteorologist Steve Weigel.
The 2005 Atlantic hurricane season, the most active in recorded history, and the last time we felt a big impact here in South Florida. Now, 6 years later, you may have been lulled into a false sense of security. But despite slow activity over the past few years, preparation now is the key to staying safe before, during, and after the storm. For 2011, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration is predicting an above-average season for hurricanes. NOAA's forecast team is calling for 12 to 18 named storms, with 6 to 10 of them becoming hurricanes. Of those, 3 to 6 could become major hurricanes. So why haven't we had any major activity here in 6 years? The answer has to do a lot with the activity not just impacting South Florida directly. So what can we expect for hurricane season 2011? We all remember the sounds of wind and rain as we hunkered down through the storms of 2004 and 05. Frances, Jean, and Wilma changed lives forever and gave us new respect for the power of Mother Nature. Which is why we found it so surprising that after such a busy run, it seemed like the winds of change brought quieter conditions in the Atlantic. Think about it. You probably can't name one storm from last year, but it turns out 2010 ties as the third busiest season on record, with a staggering 19 named storms by the end of the season. What was different last year, and can we expect the same luck this season? Only time will tell, but an unusually persistent weather pattern set up that helps steer storms away. Here's Bill Reed on last year's pattern.
We were the beneficiaries of a rather persistent pattern all summer with a large high-pressure system parked over the central United States and lower than normal pressure centered along the east coast of the United States. That provided mostly a northwest or north wind across Florida at the steering levels that we look at for turning storms. So the storms that might have hit us otherwise that were coming from the east were turning sooner than Florida, further east, and then going up the open Atlantic out to the east of the United States.
Unfortunately, it's very difficult to tell what will happen this year with the highs and lows and how they will steer storms. Their persistence was helped along by the cold water La Nina off South America, but that has weakened. We are expecting neutral conditions in the Pacific Ocean for the start of the summer rather than a return to the El Nino. Of more concern are the ocean temperatures in the Atlantic, warm again and continuing to heat up. Add to that we are in a several decades-long pattern of active hurricane season, and this is likely to be a year that ends up busier than normal. It is one of the most valuable tools in hurricane season, the Hurricane Hunter planes. Storm Team 5's James Whelan shows us what they do and the brave people who head straight into the storms.
We want to protect life and property, so we want the best tools that we can have out there to do that, and that's these aircraft right here. So whenever there's a hurricane threatened, we're flying this aircraft.
The aircraft? A P-3D Orion Hurricane Hunter, and it's a vital part of hurricane forecasting.
Without it, I think we would see a definite loss in the skill of our forecast. So for now, the reconnaissance is our number one tool for the precision we can get at the startup of a forecast.
The 16 to 20 person crew fly 9-hour missions to gather information about what the hurricane is doing. They get this data from 2 onboard research radars, cloud particle instruments, and by sending an instrument packet called a dropson directly into the hurricane. The dropson measures things like wind speed, pressure, and humidity as it falls all the way through the hurricane to the surface.
That information is all goes into the models and helps them predict down the road 2-3 days what that storm's going to be doing.
Even though they're flying an airplane through a hurricane, most flights are uneventful, aside from some constant turbulence. However, there are some rare, scary flights.
We were flying at 1,500 feet, and we hit the eye wall, and it was like gangbusters. It was a Category 5. We had winds over 200 miles an hour. severe turbulence, severe, I'm telling you, severe. And one of the engines decided it was time to quit running. So it stopped. We were in the eye. We're very low. We're losing altitude. And, of course, it's like this.
That infamous flight into Hurricane Hugo was on this plane. Nicknamed Kermit the Frog, it has been into nearly 100 storms in its 36-year life. This aircraft has about 11,000 flight hours on it, but it's only about halfway through its expected operational life. Reporting from Fort Lauderdale, meteorologist James Whelan, WPTV News Channel 5.
When the storm hits and the winds are strong, you'll want to be in the safest part of your home. What is your safest room? That's the question I asked Mary Blakeney with Palm Beach County's Division of Emergency Management.
A lot of people's safe room is their bathroom or an interior closet, but your safe room, you want it to be a room with no windows and no exterior walls. As you can see, this bathroom has exterior walls. So in order to find a perfect safe room, you want it to be in the interior of your home. That way it's almost like your own personal barracks.
Right. I guess the problem here is that you could have an object flying through the wind that could come easily through that, and then you're not protected. You have the elements right there in front of you. So this isn't such a good room. In a lot of homes, the bathroom can be a good room as long as there are no windows. Here it's not so much, but you've got a room for us that would work.
So we go beyond the bathroom, and here we have an interior closet. No exterior walls, no windows. So this would be my family's safe room. This is our barracks. It is a small area, so you want to make sure that you're prepared. If you do need to go into your safe room, you want to be prepared. And how you can be prepared in your safe room is have your disaster supply kit with all your essential items, have activities for the kids, reading materials, flashlights, your radio or your television, and then have sleeping items with you so you can rest and be as comfortable as possible within your safe room.
This is kind of a worst case scenario because in a lot of hurricanes you won't need this room, at least not very much, and you might just stay in here 20 or 30 minutes. But in a storm like Hurricane Andrew, you could be in here for hours and hours.
Absolutely, and you know, it's so important if you're an individual that's going to stay home and have no window protection, but you definitely know you're staying home, this is an essential room. You have to identify your safe room. It's key for your protection.
As Mary points out, it's important to identify that room early. Don't wait until the storm is hitting. All right, let's talk about the cone. It's one of the things people keep an eye on most when a storm is approaching. Coming up, how a smaller cone and better technology is helping give you a more accurate prediction of where the storm is heading. Welcome back, everyone. Anyone who has been through a hurricane knows about the cone. That's what we anxiously watch to see if we're in the path of the storm. Now that cone is getting smaller. Storm Team 5's James Whelan reports on how the science of predicting the path of storms is improving.
It's what we all look at when a hurricane is spinning through the tropics. Is it coming this way? What are our chances? Are we in the cone? The cone of probability, or error cone, used by the National Hurricane Center, shows where the storm center may be up to 5 days out. The cone is based on statistics from the previous 5 years, and now that the busy and not so well forecasted season of 2005 is out of the mix, the average margin of error improved greatly, and now the cone is shrinking.
We've made remarkable gains in the track forecast skill. Out in the day 4 and 5 time, there'll be a good 30 miles less in the error cone than there was last year.
In fact, it's about half the size of 2003, which is when the Hurricane Center first started issuing the 5-day forecast. Take a look at this track. The white outline is from just 8 years ago. The brown will be the new track this year, thanks to technology and improved forecasting skill. The tighter cone means fewer people will be panicking and doing unnecessary preparations. But keep in mind, the cone shows where the center of the storm may go, not the entire area the storm could affect. So even though it's a smaller cone, people outside of it could still feel the strong winds, storm surge, and flooding. The forecasting is getting so good that the Hurricane Center is now going to test out a 7-day forecast. They will evaluate it in-house only for the next several years, then decide whether to release it to the public. James Whelan, WPTV, News Channel 5.
Boaters have to pay special attention to the forecast during hurricane season because proper preparation of your vessel may make the difference between still having a boat or not. Storm Team 5's Glenn Glazer asked some experts about how to keep your boat safe in a storm.
As somebody who's been around boats for a long time, I can tell you one of the most stressful times is if there is a storm approaching the coast, wondering what you should do with your boat. Joining me today, Chris Anders, CEO of Freedom Boat Club in Riviera Beach, and you have some tips for us today on how to get your boat ready for an approaching storm.
One of the main things is to make sure that you remove all your valuables and also make sure that you have enough time once they announce that the storm's arriving to get everything off your boat. Then what you want to do is make sure that you double your lines and secure all lines, and also have chafing guards that will protect the lines during the storm surge and the high and low tides.
And dropping down a few fenders wouldn't hurt either.
Also, you want to seal all your windows or doors and hatches with duct tape. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you remove your isinglass, any bimini tops, any personal belongings, or anything that might be loose that flies off the side of the boat.
But if you do all these preps and you're still concerned about your boat, you may want to take it out to a mooring or maybe even take it out of the water.
Well, the people that keep their boats high and dry here are probably typically safer than the guys that are having their boats in the water.
Bruce Grout runs the Newport Cove Marine Center, and he advises that folks check into obtaining a hurricane season contract.
You can pull your boat out for 3-4 storms without any worry. You have a spot reserved here or at one of the sister marinas.
But until a storm actually arrives, take pleasure in having a boat.
I would say leave it in the water, use it, enjoy Peanut Island, go out and go fishing, have a hurricane plan.
And if you follow these helpful tips,
everything should go well. The only other thing you have to worry about is other people's boats that might break loose, but that's something you can't control.
Glenn Glazer, WPTV, News Channel 5.
Preparing now is the key to staying safe during the storm season. Still ahead on this News Channel 5 special, key supplies you'll need to have on hand for surviving the storm. Welcome back. Many of us think of pets as members of the family. And like other family members, they need special attention when it comes to bracing for a storm. Storm Team 5's Kate Parker reports on the preparations you need to take for your pets if you're planning to head for a shelter.
They're just like people. They can feel the storm coming. It makes them uncomfortable and nervous.
They can be an important part of your family, and there are some steps you can take now to help your pet if you're planning to evacuate when a hurricane approaches.
If you're going to bring your pet to a pet-friendly shelter, you should be bringing with you your pet's crate, appropriate size, something that's sturdy. You should bring food for up to 3 days. You should bring litter, toys, blankets, bedding.
You can actually prepare now by registering your pet online for a pet-friendly shelter rather than scrambling with papers after the evacuation orders have been issued.
You can either email it in or print it out and mail it into us, and we'll get you in the system. It'll shorten the wait time in case of an emergency where you do have to stand in line to get into the shelter.
Another option is, of course, taking your pet with you. If you're trying to find lodging, it can be difficult to locate a hotel that will accept pets. However, there are resources that are helping with that initiative.
It's called petswelcome.com, and what it is a website that you can punch in the state where you are or the state where you want to be and the city where you want to be, and it'll find you hotels that accept pets.
Perhaps the smartest thing you can do for your pet is to get them microchipped.
When your animal gets lost and somebody scans them and they're able to call a company and your name pops up and they're able to get your animal back to you.
Make sure the information on the chip is updated. That way, if your pet gets lost in the storm, a simple scan over the shoulder could help get your pet home. Kate Parker, WPTV, News Channel 5.
It seems just about every year there are new products unveiled to dealing with hurricanes. One of this year's items may make filling sandbags a thing of the past. It's called flood sacks, and they're made up of fully biodegradable, lightweight absorbent material that draws in water.
This can be used to not only prevent the water from getting in, but being used on the inside to make sure anything that happens to leak through is picked up. The product actually activates in 3 minutes. It gets to 90% of its weight, and in 5 minutes it reaches 100% of its full weight. It can actually pull in up to 5.5 gallons per bag.
The company says the water that gets sucked in doesn't leak out and can be deployed for 90 days. Many people wait until the storm approaches to buy the supplies they'll need to get through a hurricane. You don't have to wait until then and line up with the crowds at the grocery store. You can buy those items now and store them. I asked Mary Blakeney with Palm Beach County's Division of Emergency Management what items you need in your house.
One of the most #1 essential things to have for any type of disaster is a kit. And a kit contains a wide variety of items. Let's begin with the water. 1 gallon per person per day for a minimum of 3 days. That's what you should have on hand. Non-perishable foods. You want to have some canned meats, some canned fruits, some canned vegetables, things that you can actually open and eat at that time without heating. You want to make sure you also include a manual can opener. That way you can open those items instead of electric one. You want to also have, if you have children, you want to also have maybe a variety of juices, you know, vegetable juices, and some high protein things to keep you going, some you know, dehydrated meats and so forth. In the process, you don't want to forget that if you have an infant, you got to have extra supplies of formula, food, extra diapers and wipes if you have a small infant at home. Along with the food supply and those items, you should look at paper and disposable utensils, plates, napkins, those types of things, because you won't be able to, in the event that the power's out or there's loss of water supply for a temporary period of time, you want to make sure that you have disposable items that you can just throw away and don't have to worry about washing. Another important thing is to have a first aid kit available. You know, there's a lot of debris, a lot of things that can happen in any type of a disaster. So you want to have a basic first aid kit along with some over-the-counter medication. In addition to the over-the-counter medication, if you have prescriptions, you want to make sure that those prescriptions are filled and try to get an extra supply of those prescriptions to hold out. Personal hygiene items are important. Make sure you have plenty of toilet paper, the toothpaste, things where you could wash up if you need to, baby wipes or something good. And then if you have the ability and the luxury, you would love to be able to get a portable television. That way you can maintain contact with the media to see the event of the storm. If not, a radio will do fine. And we very much encourage people to get a NOAA weather radio. That way you're prepared for anything that may happen in your community.
And it's very important to keep in mind that those analog battery-operated TVs that got you through Jean, Francis, and Wilma no longer work unless you have special connectors and adapters. Your best bet is to purchase a new battery-operated digital TV that can get you through the storms. That'll pick up our signal through the storm and after, too. All right, coming up next, we're going to show you where you can get this valuable guide, the 2011 Hurricane Survival Guide. Welcome back. When a storm is heading your way, you're probably thinking about having enough food, water, and other supplies. It can be easy to forget about your pool. Storm Team 5's Glenn Glazer reports that it's just a few steps beforehand that can save you a lot of time afterwards.
Lots of times when a storm's coming, people are thinking about boarding their house up and, you know, what to do with the pets. They got to get food in. And the pool is a last-minute thing. They say, oh, my gosh, what am I going to do about the pool?
Mike Cushing of Cushing Pool says a few minutes of preparation can save you a whole lot of pool-related headaches if a storm approaches our area.
It's very simple. You don't have to do a lot. There's some pretty simple guidelines. The pool pretty much will take care of itself.
Step 1, drain a little water out.
So in each pool, there is a valve that bypasses the whole system and allows you to drain water completely out of your pool. You need to know where that is.
But draining your pool takes some precision. You don't want to drain it too much. So how much is just enough?
We want to drain the pool down to the bottom of the tile, and we want to turn off the skimmer. That allows us to take 8 to 10 inches of rain in the pool before it even considers overflowing.
Then make sure you turn the valve off again.
And because if the electricity goes out and this valve is still open, when the electricity comes back on, it will continue to drain. So it's a key component to turn this off.
Next, walk around and pour liquid chlorine into your pool.
That is called superchlorination. That shocks the water. So even if we're without power for several days, the pool will be in good shape.
And Mike says adding a floater is a good idea as well.
That's a canister that holds chlorine tablets. And that is also an alternative way to introduce chlorine into the pool. And that, again, keeps the water clean and safe to swim in.
And that's basically all there is to it. So let's run through the steps again.
The first thing is you need to understand the controls of your pool. Then you drain it to the bottom of the tile, which is only, for most people, you're only going to take 3 or 4 inches out of the pool itself. Okay, then you turn off the valve that lets the water out. Then you put the superchlorination in, and then you put the floater in, and you're basically good to go. The pool will take care of itself.
Oh, and what about that old wives' tale about your other outdoor items?
Lawn furniture, charcoal broilers, pool equipment, just put it inside your house, put it inside your garage, because they will fly around. Do not put them in your pool.
Glenn Glazer, WPTV, News Channel 5.
News Channel 5 is helping you prepare for a storm. Our News Channel 5 hurricane guides are filled with all the information you need to help you get before a storm arrives, when it hits, and the days after. You can find them at all area public stores. Or you can download the guide anytime from our website, WPTV.com. Just click on the Weather tab at the top of the page and then click the Hurricane Plus tab. Throughout the 2011 hurricane season, the News Channel 5 meteorologists will be here. If it looks like a storm is heading our way, we'll be manning the Weather Center 24/7. And the entire News Channel 5 news team will be providing you with all the information you need to stay safe during the storm. For all of us at News Channel 5, good night, and let's have a safe season.